the bottom, or episode anything, it now says day 2. That's how it's going to be from now on.
Nice.
And hello. My name is Kevin. We are Dirty 20 Gaming, and it is a Saturday night, which means it is time for the second in our series using the Star Trek Adventure System. Our game is called Away Team, but we're going to get to that in a minute, because first we have to do all the technical stuff. All the stuff that's over beside me on the overlay. Speaking of that overlay, the art for that overlay and a lot of the other art is provided to us by way of Pixabay. Their background art, filigree and all the fancy fixings around the edge, all provided by them. Hero Forge we used to do our character art. We use both the tokens and in one case for the actual zoom image is a 3-dimensional rendering of the image. So thank you to them for that. Our virtual tabletop. We're still new with it, so if anything slows down tonight, it's because of that. We're figuring it out on the fly, but it is an amazing system. Astral Tabletop at astraltabletop.com. Highly suggest you go over there, and no, that is not a paid announcement. That's just a happy customer. That's all the technicals. Except, I talked quickly about this game. We're using the Star Trek Quick Start game. And if you want to see what this is like, segue back to what I was just talking about, you can go to Astral, and it's part of the free content that you see right when you first join up. You can go in and see exactly how this system works. So we're using that as a base, but I can't leave anything alone. So I think you'll probably be able to notice tonight the point where the story as written in the manual stops and is interrupted by the story that I have added onto it. I think it will become fairly obvious. So, given all that, now, for the reason that we are here, our wonderful chat, thank you already, multiples over there already having conversations. We've already invented a new kind of Vulcan. Somebody now, at some point in the future, has to play a redneck Vulcan whose throwaway line is, "Rootin' tootin', that's illogical, Captain." But we'll get to that some other game. But while Biden collects himself, let's start with Nick playing Solan, the medical officer, for us. Where else? Well, I'm not going to say where else can we find you, because I don't think he's streaming anywhere
you can
else.
find me on the Discord.
Beyond the Discord, there. Yeah, absolutely, there is that. And what else are you doing?
What else am I doing? I'm finishing up university and then figuring out what I do from there.
That is a big, large moment. So yeah, the face, that face that shows just the tiny bit of eep, I get. Absolutely.
In there.
How's your game going? The game you're GMing as a first-time GM.
It's going fine. Talked to one of the players earlier today, and but I'm talking to somebody who has already talked to about having like a guest person come at the end of the month.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, excited for that, except for the fact that I've already told them in advance. The entire plot is determined by what happens like the episode before.
Yep.
So I can tell you basically nothing about what's going on with the world until basically the 12th.
So you have already learned the secret of GMing, which is don't plan too far ahead. It will just go to waste. He seems to have recovered himself, and I'm just going around the circle in Zoom. So Pete's Sakes played for us by Bison. Thank you for joining us. And you have been doing some streaming, I know. Where are you with that?
Lately. Had a rough week, so I put it off this week. On Monday, I will most likely be playing Outriders, probably 7 p.m. Pacific. It's a fun game, nice third-person shooter, brought by the same people who worked on Bulletstorm and some of the Gears of War games. So it's pretty solid, it's got a good sense of humor, and I'm enjoying the shit out of it.
That is the key feature. That is absolutely the key thing. Okay, next on the list, playing Sky for us this evening, Lanny. Tell us about what else you're doing, where else we can find you.
Well, first off,
Lonnie,
as we can see,
Sorry.
Yes, you're right. I can see you're hesitant there. Don't
Yeah.
worry, you're right. You got it.
I got stuck. Yeah.
I got my fancy avatar with slightly different colors. Yay!
Yep.
People might notice that. It looks at least a little different on your screen. It still looks more purple than I would have expected. But
Well,
hey, it's better.
So the what else have you been doing?
I should probably mention. Well, first I should probably mention, just for technicality reasons, because you're like all our art is from this. So it's like, well, technically, I will admit I made mine with Vroid Studio, yay software.
Oh yes. Yeah.
But
yeah, I get it. Cool.
Other than the little bit of work I've done with that didn't take much. What I'm usually doing still is I am still writing my stories, still working on my trilogy. That is no simple task.
Ooh.
That involves lots of work, because my books are not just like tiny little snippets and we're done. No. My first trilogy was full of 80 chapter books.
Oh my goodness.
Somewhere around 1,000 pages each. So yeah.
Well, thank you for taking time out of that to come and play with us. I appreciate it very much. And I'm gonna I saved one of my favorite people in the whole wide world for last here. Gyro played for us by Hellhounds 20. You're always a joy to play with. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know you've got stuff that you're doing, so tell us about that.
I didn't know I was your favorite. I guess I got an upgrade.
You certainly won. I won up, right?
He's got a lot of favorites, so I mean.
Yeah.
I'm also flaky.
Boy.
I am all over the place, so you.
Yeah.
It's like employee of the month, but it's more like favorite of the week.
You're absolutely one of my favorite people to play with. So, oops, just kicked my camera. My excitement.
It's fine. It doesn't really matter where you find me. My name is Hellhounds20. I'm an artist, mostly streaming Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays on Twitch, doing D&D and podcast. DMing a lot of games, playing in very few. One of my games, mercifully and unfortunately, one of my games is on a indefinite hiatus. It always sucks when like your players don't communicate, but like you also understand that life.
Oh yeah. We have real life getting in the way of Ironsworn, and it's hanging by a thread, and it's been hanging by that thread for so long that thread is fossilizing. I completely understand what you're. I'm
just gonna put my Twitch in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, I'm so tired.
Oh well, I'll see if I can wake you up a little bit.
Let's see.
We have introduced all of our players. We have dotted all of our I's and crossed all of our T's, which means we can get to the game. Day one ended, strangely enough, in a crashed Romulan shuttle. The systems in it are completely non-functional. Even the ones that weren't destroyed in the crash itself are anything that was electrical or computer-driven is just shot. All of your personal equipment, tricorders that could normally read things out for miles in every direction, are drastically limited in their abilities. In fact, from where you are as the sun rises, your eyes are probably a better indicator of what's around you than your equipment. If you remember from the night before, there was a thin trail of smoke in the sky, and it is still there as the sun comes up. It is a small fire. It's not a forest fire. It's controlled, and for all the world, it looks like habitation. You check your machines, your tricorders, and again, no real information, just a rough direction. The source of all of this interference, the source of the interference that is keeping you on this planet, because at this point you cannot transport back to your ship, is in a slightly different direction, about 30 degrees on a compass. And as the sun finishes rising and you finish stretching, Pete, I know you said before we started you spent the night trying to figure out how Romulan propulsion system works. You have done so, and what you have also figured out is that you are basically sitting on a time bomb.
Which he does not share
No. Okay.
because that would be terrible.
As you rise,
He
just after
does.
the sun rises, a pink mist starts to develop up in the sort of treetop height. Just like a morning fog.
Nope, wrong.
Does that square him up? There you go. That gets him closer to the middle.
There we go.
Other way. There we go. Your other right. I know, because it's
Yeah,
left,
my
right.
other
Yeah.
right.
All right. So, with that, the four of you, the two Romulans that you knocked out in the fight the night before, are where you put them, comfortable, cozy, and safe. There are footprints around the outside of the ship. You didn't hear anything all night, even if I assumed you'd left guards out. But nobody heard anything. But there are little footprints all around the craft when you wake up.
Are they people or animal?
It looks like critters. Would you like to spend a little bit of time having a look at them?
Yeah.
All right, give me reason and science.
Yes.
Try and figure out what these things are. What would leave tracks like this? One success. There are tracks everywhere. Tracks over tracks, tracks on top of tracks, all kinds of stuff. The one you can see, because it's the biggest tracks of all, has 3 pads. Looks like a normal, like an animal that you'd see on Earth almost. It's like it's got 3 pads, and each one of them has a small claw, but there's no like palm. It's just those 3 pads. It's quite big, and because the tracks are on top of everything else, it looks like when that showed up, everything else left.
Must have been like a predator chasing off some prey.
Absolutely.
All right. All right.
Yeah. Anybody else want to have a look around? This is Star Trek, after all.
I mean,
I will give it a shot. Pete's a bit of a farm boy,
Yep.
Spent a lot of time in the woods taking pot shots at various animals,
So reason or
Teenagers
insight?
would.
Because you're still going to use science, but reason or
Yeah.
insight.
His reason is better,
But
so
would
that's
he
what I
use
wanna
that,
go
or
with.
would it be his? Would he just
It
sort
would-
of, if I was a moose, I'd be over there, eh? Because that'd be more like insight.
Yeah, that would be more insight. Yeah, insight and science would make most
Okay.
sense then.
Give me an insight and science roll. And these are threshold ones, so
Yeah, so real task.
The difference is if he finds it, he's gonna kill it and eat it.
2 successes.
Or
So
just
you guys
stare at
gain
it
a
for
momentum.
a bit, It's like, what the heck is this? I wonder. No,
There you
that's
So you gained a momentum because you rolled 1 more success than you needed. That's the mechanical part of the game. You're an engineer by nature. You're a hunter by nature. Yes, that thing that showed up at the end was absolutely a predator, but there was like a flock, you want to say, of something more like birds than animals. Small, multi-toed. They're it's hard to see their footprints because they just run into a blur because they all ran in a pack.
Yeah.
But you can see the path that they ran.
If it was birds, then I'm going to be interested, especially on what kind of direction they think that they're going. Birds are quite good at traveling, so getting a layout of what in the world's around us would be quite cool.
Absolutely. I said bird-like in that they move like a flock of birds on the ground. What I'm thinking, and I know
I'm going to say
Bison
quail.
knows this, quail. Yeah, this looks like a quail trail where
Chickens.
100 scared idiots ran in a direction. It's basically what this looks like.
That's entirely accurate, considering I see quail every day outside my window.
Forgetting
No,
that they
Oh
can fly.
no!
Yeah, forgetting that,
This-
getting scared and forgetting that they can fly.
Yeah,
Trying to run
forgetting
away
they-
from terrestrial predators.
It's a horde of quails in a cassowary.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yep,
That's
basically,
what
yeah.
I'm thinking. So we got this big guy over here, and that's obviously the one we need to be worried about. But these little dudes, I mean, once they saw him, they're like, well, let's take off, boys. And they went over that way. So that place has probably got some sort of safe, but it's most likely a dead end.
Looking in that direction, because you got 2 successes. Looking in that direction, you see it's thick, heavy shrubbery, which is low-lying shrubbery, which is exactly where you would expect a small prey animal to run when it got scared. You look down again and see something that you missed the first time. The predator starts to follow that track, and then there's a skid mark as they make a rapid 90 and head back the way they came.
So would that be in a GTFO kind of way, or
That's
I found something
no, it
tastier?
looks like a GTFO. It's like something scared it off of easy prey.
He follows it and he's like, oh dear.
So it is a predator by chance.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it not go, well, unless it only goes for live prey? So first I'd make sure the 2 from yesterday are still alive.
The Romulans were quite close to the ship, and you can actually see, because you asked, I don't need to roll for this because this is really obvious now that you ask about it. There's like a semicircle around them and an even larger circle around the ship where nothing came within about 5 meters.
Hmm.
One of the
Engineer,
What's up, bud?
would you know of any reason why no animal would want to approach this ship?
Well, that
Yeah,
might
you
have
Yeah.
that might have something to do with the type of technology that the Romulans seem to be using. I mean, I know that the Vulcans and the Romulans are sort of related. I don't know. It's not my place to guess. But they use plasma technology, not warp. This thing is basically an explosion, and we're just waiting for it to go off. And they can probably smell that because plasma is really weird.
So
Maybe we should get out of here then.
Oh, that's probably a good idea.
Engineer, would you think it would be possible that they could sense something about the magnetism potentially of the plasma?
Well, considering that the containment fields are off and everything that has an electronic pulse is off, yeah, they could probably sense the ionization of the surrounding particles. Yeah, they most likely sense the fact that this thing's going to blow up pretty soon.
Yeah. It's the ionization.
And he says
exactly
it's completely matter
of
of fact.
Yeah.
He says it's
Yeah.
completely matter
Gyro
of fact.
is going to gently turn Peter towards the smoke column and start walking.
with them. Yeah.
Like as he's talking about this, like maybe we should walk and talk
Yeah,
instead of just
yeah.
stand here.
Yeah.
Oh, hold
what's
on,
the
I gotta go
radius
get my
of the
stuff.
Explosion? Yeah, okay, keep walking.
There's a
yeah.
lot that's been going on.
He just peels
yeah.
off from Gyro and just heads right back into the ship. He's like, oh, I gotta get my stuff.
There's been a lot that's been going on.
Yes.
I should back
Sky.
up with some of that.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Mike, what Sky would have done there was she would have been considering for a while that these are obviously avian trails. They definitely travel a lot.
Absolutely.
So one of the biggest things to try and pick up was what kind of places have they been? These are little critters that like safe spaces.
Absolutely.
So
yep.
if a critter considers something as a safe space, what's safe around here?
Absolutely.
Is it signs that they are in a cave network? Do they have any kind of signatures that are beyond the sand that's on them? Little trace of like maybe grass or something that could be really useful to find near here. It shows what kind of features are near this area, stuff we should look for.
Absolutely. I have an answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, if you double back to that ship as well.
No, I assume the easiest way to do this would be to follow their trail, see where they went when they were frightened, right?
Well, I was looking for any kind of like traces of little things that also were falling on their trail. Like,
absolutely.
Oh, look, there's little crumbles of that's like stalactite rock. Yeah, they're from underground. Or, hey, look, grass pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. So you start following the trail, and it's just basically churned up forest floor. So it's really kind of hard to tell because it's mostly mulch. However, when you get to the shrubbery that they went under, you notice there's like an arch, almost like worn into this shrubbery, where they've gone through this same place over and over and over and over again. And you would have to kind of it looks, the hole's only about that big. So you'd have to get down to look into it or shine your tricorder in or something.
by matters of terrain? Is this something that would lead to just simply an expanse after it, or is this going to go underground?
Good question.
Emerson
You
Chatterton.
stand up and look around. This bush is about 5 meters around and about 3 or 4 meters high, and it stands clear of everything else around it. There's no trees or other shrubberies that actually touch this bush.
Does the angling look like it's going to go down, or it's going to go through?
You look through the hole. It looks like it stays flat. You can see ground inside. Oh, here, got to kill some spam. There we go. Spam
Two
Two
nuke.
for one right there.
Oh, did we? Oh, look at that. We must be getting famous. We got spammed twice.
Remember to report and block.
I should block them, yes. Oh, I almost banned Thunderscape 7 because it was...
Don't do
If
that.
things move.
Don't do that.
Ah!
You guys are way ahead of me.
Thank you for being my artist. Block.
No more
Heard that
creativity
story a
from
few
you.
many times.
This is how you will pay for the redneck Vulcan. Sky, you look in, you can see this. You asked about does it ramp down or does it look like it stays flat? It looks like it stays flat, and it is pounded like a beaten earth floor in here. This is
Okay.
not something they've used 100 times or 1,000 times. The inside of this looks like pavement. It's so overused.
Multi-generational.
Yeah.
It's a clubhouse, essentially. Like, it's a little hideaway.
Okay. So other than the fact that it's rough passage, it looks like getting this way would be cool. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
I expected around this point, there's also some of the other conversation going on. It's like, yeah.
No,
So
let's see.
behind us is explosion, and this way looks like things that make critters.
Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff is going on behind you, but you're still standing here looking at this hole in a bush.
Gyro is not herding a bunch of cats. She's like, sorry, they're herding 2 pigeons to leave the ship. One wants to grab their shinies, the
and
other
you
wants to
have
find
no-
more
And
pigeons.
you have no bird seed. It's impossible because you don't have the one thing that they follow.
Please tell me Salan is actually leaving the ship.
Yes, Scylla. We haven't been.
You're
yeah.
not catching where, because the
Yeah.
bushes
This is-
go away from things. So this is a welcome to a direction to go away. If
Yeah.
birds think this is safe and
Yeah.
is
Well,
away
we also-
from where the bomb is going to blow,
Yep.
this looks
We-
like a direction to go.
We also have that, big fire.
There
That's
is.
where
you've
we're
got-
heading.
yeah.
Right now, you've got 3 choices to essentially that I've explained. You've got infinite choices. If you say we just turn left and walk until the fall off the edge of the earth, we'll do that too. But the 3 presented choices so far are the apparent occupation with the fire in a place that nobody's supposed to be living, the apparent direction of the beacon that is causing all this electromagnetic shit, which is about 30 degrees off a compass point that way, and a shrubbery that is sort of right next to you as well.
There,
Fire.
she's gonna figure that
Technology.
out.
The
You know,
interference is annoying. I want to kind of look into that.
there is in that order. There is effectively what you would interpret as, hey, look over there. The beacon of electrical stuff is. So there is an unknown threat we don't have much information on and no perspective on details, which is probably about as dangerous as walking our first steps on this planet.
Yep.
There is the great fire that somehow managed to be burning for a while, which then could still have who knows how many threats just sitting there. We
Absolutely.
also don't have a perspective on that environment, and it's probably not safe.
Nope.
Or there's this
Or we
place
can hide in
where
the hole.
little critters have already said, yeah, I feel perfectly fine over here, which might lead to a perspective where we can see what is going on everywhere else. As the navigator, following safe to look at more things means you can see more options. And that looks great for her
So
because
do you present that option to the crew? We should go in here.
well, at this point, I expect everyone is a distance away. Who is the closest?
They're all in speakable range. This is my game. I'm not going to break the story because, oh no, they've walked too far.
Yes, no.
Yeah.
It's she's not going to be the loudest, so she's not
Yeah.
going to just shout for just the probably in this case Pete running back to the ship for whatever. She's not going to shout to someone
he
like
comes
that.
back out now, and the three of them start heading off into the trees. So they're not that far away. You're
Gyro's argument to this is that our mission was to find out what happened to the other crew.
Yeah.
which you've done. Yeah.
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 Technically accomplished your mission. You just can't get off the planet.
That is another issue. But there's also the colony ship that like anybody would want to know about. We're like
That's
as you said in the
primary
as you said
concern.
as you said in like the first episode, we're not military, we're research and
Yes.
study and exploration.
Yep.
As much as I want to learn about the mechanical interference, I would like to find this colony ship, see if they can give us any more information about this before we go looking into it.
Some of this, I guess, is character perspective.
And-
So
Yeah. And so
It-
then,
it-
And
Yeah.
as
We're going
interesting
to-
as interesting
look
as
at
the
the art.
critters are, I want to get away from this bomb.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
if we find any more tracks, maybe we can look into it. Just not right now.
We're a rescue mission. We're not a biological team.
Oh no, she's not definitely
Yeah.
got no interest in the birds. It's hey, birds think this is safe, and this gives us a new angle where we can see new things.
So
Obviously,
Len,
though,
what's
nobody
your
knows the
opinion?
side because she's not.
His
said this
opinion is that our tools are being impeded by something.
Mhm.
And if our tools were working properly, then we'd be able to get a better idea of, where things are, what things are going. We might have actually been able to track where those, the critters are that we're trying to track by eye.
Mhm.
So he's kind of more interested in that interference. As much as, yes, there's life, and yes, there's this colony ship. If we can figure out what's up with this interference, we might be able to be more effective at, dealing with the colony ship. And though the colonists may not be as impacted.
And at the end of that sentence, Sky, you hear down by your ankle. "Brrrt." You look down.
The most important thing, first off, is if it's just a sound.
You don't know until you look down.
You don't know.
No,
until-
no,
It's
if it's
that
just
you just
so
heard
far,
"Brrrt"
if it's
right
just
by
a
your
sound,
ankle on an
reaction,
alien land.
it might be dangerous. Back away. Then look at it.
Okay, so you leap back and you look down, and there is this weird little six-legged thing. It looks like three balls put together out of like an exoskeleton, like an ant with an extra thorax. And it's got six little legs that are out on the sides and then down. And then the ankles turn 90 degrees, and there's these little four-clawed, almost like chicken claws on the end of those. And at the front of that, on the front of that third armored piece, there's a little patch of feathers and a little tiny beak and a little tiny single eye and one thingy sticking out of its forehead with kind of a blobby on the end doing that for no apparent reason.
Quail.
So they can, my joke is just so they got something to follow. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. But yeah, that is what you see looking up at you.
Space
Totally fearless. Like it's trying to
Yeah.
figure out why that tree moved.
Nightmare quail.
And the little head turns, like, but the whole front ball turns. Like you think of three balls in a row, the whole front ball goes like chittin on chittin, and the head goes.
Yeah.
It's about a little less than knee high. What do you do?
Bigger than I thought.
There is always the intrigue that if a critter is running away and proceeding in a direction and is all led by fear, then hey, that's something to follow. As
Yeah.
soon as something is not fearless, that means it thinks it's better than you, and it might have cause for that.
Or you're too alien to register. It doesn't know what you are, so you haven't been registered as a threat yet.
Oh, your logic could make sense, and I
That's how
would
they killed the
potentially agree
dodo
with
with a
you.
stick.
I could potentially totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Sky would not feel that way. Not
Okay.
on how strange everything here is.
Okay. So is it a
line of
threat?
thought towards, well, it's not that it's going to necessarily kill her because
Nope.
it hasn't been aggressive yet,
Yep.
but it's
So
potentially dangerous.
what is it you're going to do?
Run.
Run? Okay. So now it seems like a very
He's
good
going
idea.
to outright flee to where the others are because,
Okay.
nope, this thing, it might do something. And that's always bad.
So you leap back, you see it, and then you run over by the other three. So
Yep.
the four of you are now headed in approximately the same direction. The other three look back to see what scared your con officer, and there's this tiny little critter standing in front of a bush. All the feet, because it can't turn its head, it can only rotate it. As it turns like 90 degrees to look at you, and then its little head goes sideways, goes back up, turns it's not smart. It turns the other 270 degrees the same way it was going, and then starts to go back into the bush.
If the thing is fearless, then that direction may not be as safe as she thought. So yeah, nope, we'll go somewhere else.
The other three, what are you guys
Definitely,
doing?
intelligence is to be determined.
Yeah.
As
So, engineer,
Peter,
first officer.
Peter notices and watches Sky get spooked by this ant quail.
There we have a name for them
coming
now.
back.
It's
Thank
a
you.
quant. It's
Quant,
a
thank
quant.
It's a
Well,
quaint.
you guys get to name them. You're the first
It's
people that
quaint.
have ever seen them. It's a quaint. There you go.
Quaint.
A quaint.
So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a quaint. Sees that and like suppresses a snicker
Mm-hmm.
and looks to Gyro is like, okay there, Chief. So now that I'm ready to go, my bags are packed. What do we do about the squatters?
Romulans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what they were.
Yep. They stay. The canon for this game is they stay asleep until you either wake them, or forever.
Just,
Or in this case, until their ship goes off.
yeah,
Yep.
until their ship blows. That's what he's thinking. Is like, what do we do
or
about
the predator
these guys?
comes back and eats them, or the thing that scared off the predator comes back and eats them and the predator. We'll see.
This is a moral dilemma.
It
Because
is.
one,
It
if they
is.
wake up, they're going to want to kill us, regardless of us being peaceful. Another
Absolutely.
dilemma, Gyro doesn't want anyone to be killed.
Yes.
Then wouldn't there be the idea of like delayed repercussions? Is there, first off, is there a way to actually be like, oh yeah, we'll have them like semi-drugged so they will wake up in exactly X period of hours? Or is there
Not
the
with the
option
tech you've
to
got available. No.
Yeah,
No.
You
Solon
can put them
can
inside
give
the
them
ship
some,
and close the doors. I mean, nothing's going
Yeah.
to eat them then.
Solon can give them some benzos and just keep them inside for a bit. Do you have
Here's the
any-
dark side of my brain here. If we
Yes.
leave them here, it's going to look like the ship crashed and then killed them with an explosion.
Yes, it will.
I mean,
Yep.
that's a logical option.
And as Gyro's
From-
kind of thinking about this, they're like slowly starting to run their hand through their hair, trying to figure something out.
Yep, because you're right. As far as interstellar incidents go, having them inside the explosion radius with all the other victims would be extremely convenient.
And technically, the Federation has no standing treaty with
Nobody
the
does here.
Romulans,
This is
so
the
if
neutral zone. There are no
So
rules. This is like
anything that
international
happens-
waters.
Exactly.
I'm gonna look at the others. Do we leave them in their ship?
So,
If
Lam,
anyone knows how to
as the
fix it,
medical
but it's them.
officer, I'm interested in your response. These are living beings. They're pricks.
They're
and they
also
tried to kill you.
Romulans.
But
Your
And they will
asshole
keep
Romulans.
trying to kill us.
and you're a Vulcan, and you're not supposed to be emotional, but
These are your asshole cousins.
they're Romulans, yeah.
I mean, they also shot at me, so they don't particularly care for my life.
No, they'll kill you in a heartbeat, and you're the only one that knows what they said, unless you've shared that. They thought that this was all your fault.
So far, it seems like we've just been on our own and not really communicating anything. I don't even
Yeah,
think
we're
my
pretty
character's
much
spoken
all-
to anyone
You
yet.
haven't.
Remember, though,
haven't.
that makes sense,
Fine.
though, because remember, none of you had ever met each other before you got thrown on this ship and sent on this mission, because you were all in different parts of the academy. You have still
think-
yet to have your sit down and go, hi, I'm so-and-so.
I think
So-
Pete and Gyro have talked. So
A little
one would
bit,
assume- Yeah. one
Gyro
would
has
assume-
talked to everybody.
Yeah.
Yep. Been a good first officer.
I mean,
But Gyro is throwing up the Wade options here. One,
Yeah.
they're Romulans. If they wake up, they're going to try and kill us no matter what we do. Two, there are predators here. If we leave them out unconscious, they're going to get eaten. Three, this ship is going to explode, as Pete has said. If we leave them here, they're going to die. I don't want anyone here to get hurt or killed, but this is a very complex problem. What is everybody else's opinions on this? I want to hear everyone here.
He's rubbing his shoulder. It's like, I don't care much for these guys.
I mean, from a medical perspective, here inside the ship is a terrible position to be in. Outside is an improvement, assuming that you get woken up by something or someone. One would assume that being attacked by a predator would be enough to wake you up.
Chewed on.
So, unless that you for some reason think that we should take them with us. And I mean, somebody did say that there was a fire in potentially civilization if we wanted to leave them somewhere.
That is another issue. If there are people there and we take these guys to them, they're going to try and kill them as well.
Sky, after a moment of just listening to the discussion, is going to decide to finally speak up for once. If we're worried about questions, there's still questions in that bush. They seem kind of like maybe going to help, maybe going to sit there staring at you for the next 5 hours and then poke you a bit. Why don't we just see how well those get along? And if it takes them 5 hours to poke them awake, that's all the better.
Just stuff them in the hole.
Concern is when this goes off, gesturing to the ship, it's going to draw some attention. And I'd rather not be near such attention being gathered.
Gyro is going to walk up to Sky and start poking them in the shoulder over and over and over again, going,
ow.
So imagine this, but you're dying over and over. If it's an explosion, it's instant, at the very least.
Well, the birds could still wake them up.
I'm going to
It
put them in
just
the
take a
ship.
while.
Gyro's not happy about it, but they're going to put them in the ship.
Absolutely.
Because at the very least, if they do die, it's instant. It's not slow and painful from a creature.
Yep.
What would you like done with the others?
Just a quick visual. I know that Romulans tend to wear quilts instead of armor or uniforms.
It's a quilted armor with the big
the compensator shoulders and everything.
Yeah.
So I don't really know their ranking or insignia or anything. But is there a difference between the two, or are they both like red shirts?
Good question.
Can I see like a difference in insignia? They're like pips or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good question. You look and you do not. They've both got 2 pips. You go to look at the dead ones, like the ones that died in the crash. The 4 pipper is in that pile. So the commander died on impact, along with two 1 pippers. So these are like 2 corporals that survived.
Mm-hmm.
Soldiers. So the stupid ones were making dumb decisions. Got it.
Well, the thing is also
they had no leader. They panicked, right?
The other thing is if they're 1 pippers, they're more likely to have a broader sense of skills. They might be able to fix something in their ship before it blows up.
These twos,
and they can read Romulan, and I can't.
Yeah, these twos are like middle management. They're yeah. Either way.
So if they we're basically leaving them to their own survival. They're going to wake up in a few hours. They're going to have their own stuff. They're going to have 1 pistol because I'm taking the other one.
Okay. So you leave 1 disruptor there and take 1. Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Because I'm not an asshole, and give them at least a chance against whatever that 3-pod thing is.
Yep.
I agree with the idea, and I tell Gyro that I'm leaving 1 of the disruptor pistols in the shuttle with them.
Oh wow! You just turned them into Schrodinger's Romulans.
Alive or dead?
Are they alive or dead?
50-50.
We don't know until we look. Solan.
Can I just take this moment to appreciate, we're advanced civilization. What are you? 3 pip. What are you? 1 pip. Pip.
It was just my generic way of ranking people.
Well, that's what they call them in Star Trek. In Starfleet, they're pips.
Are they? Oh, look at that! I remembered something. I didn't even know I remembered it, but apparently
a captain has 4 pips.
Right.
I still honestly thought the birds would have just potentially been something that could have woken them up. But
I'm sorry. I just love the idea of like, let's just shove them in the hole. Whoop.
The whole time.
well, apparently it's not a hole. There's like some
It's
safe
just a
thing over
little
there.
hideout in a brush.
Yeah,
Yep.
Just a little hut.
yeah. Leave them there until the birds stare at them long enough to realize, yeah, you know what? I'm going to start poking them, see if they wake up, and they do. And then it's like, hey, there we go. They're now awake. Everything's fine, and they're like, there's these ugly birds poking me, but they're fine now.
Then they follow
Well.
us potentially.
Yeah,
Well,
if they
that'd
live,
be
they're
like
coming to
5
kill
hours
you.
later.
If this blows up before they wake up, then you guys are fine.
If this
But
is the
maybe not
if this is
morally, but-
everybody's final decision,
Yes.
Gyro
First
is going
Officer
to
Gyro.
Gyro is going to gently pull Sky away from the birds finally
Yeah.
Oh no,
and start heading towards the smokestack.
pull from the birds. We already went over. She doesn't want anywhere near them.
Well, she ran away from the birds, but anyway, either way, I get your point. Yeah, you get the Romulans inside, close the doors, and start to make your way towards the Tower of Smoke. As the first officer, that's the plan?
She knows the rules. As soon as Gyro was asking what would we do, she
Mhm.
gave her insight.
Yep.
Gyro made an executive decision. She's not saying a word again.
Exactly. I'm just making sure that was
Understood.
the
First officer.
executive decision.
Yeah, First Officer Gyro, right?
Yeah.
Technically, they have the command
You
training.
do.
They got the management classes.
And you've been playing it really well, by the way, which is
But
one
I
of
at
the
least
reasons why
asked
I
for
enjoyed
everyone
it.
else's opinion before
You
making
did, which is
the final decision.
excellent officer mechanic. There was not a time constraint on that decision. So you asked for input and then make a decision. You absolutely did that right.
Technically, there was, which was the explosion. But yeah,
Well, that's like
But you guys make your way. Yeah. So, first officer, we're heading towards the smoke.
yes.
Excellent. With
As
that,
much as I want to learn about this interference, maybe there's some information if the ship is still intact. And
Yes.
they're saying this as they're walking. If the ship is a little bit intact, we could see if we can find something more. Like this interference is messing with our scans, but maybe there's a computer there that can tell us a little bit more, like logs, data logs.
And Peter's also, he doesn't really mention it, but he's also like, and if it's an actual colony ship, we'll have a whole slew of supplies. And
That is true.
he's thinking about diagnostics tools. He's thinking about repair equipment. He's gonna need at least one box of duct tape. And specifically, he's concerned about the diagnostic tools because if he can do something about that interference,
Yeah.
even though he's a cadet, with the right tools, an engineer can do anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would give you Sky's agenda through things. She would have been all like, yes, let's focus on the safe path. With the safe path is like, okay, you have that. You have information. What's next important with that information?
Yeah.
Solon had a great line of thought. Hasn't been spoken to her yet. But yeah, that being able to get a perspective that would allow a better perspective would be right up her alley. She would be quite interested on that. The most dangerous option is the one we've decided. She's not going to speak against that. That is the decision that was made.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's not going to make her feel comfortable.
Well, the
So,
only way to gather
her
information is to get
priority
closer, right?
at
So,
this point is where's the danger?
absolutely.
She's already expecting this is the most dangerous decision.
Yeah.
So where's the danger?
Oh,
But you guys are heading right into it because this is Star Trek and there's danger everywhere.
yeah, it's expected. I didn't join Starfleet for a desk job.
As you make your way towards the smoke site, it's going to take a large portion of the day to get there. And as you move through this forest, I'm assuming you're all looking around and trying to absorb what you're seeing. And
Yeah,
Solan?
learning path and finding dangers.
Solan, you're
As
talking to
alert
yourself.
as-
What's going on?
As alert as Gyro is, they are actually like undoing their braided ponytail and then doing it up in like a bun.
Okay,
Really,
more
so it's
practical,
not
yeah.
so much. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And as they walk, they look back at the others. By the way, my name is Gyro.
Ensign Pete sakes. As he's like, he just he's got a pad in one hand and a tricorder in the other, and he's actually got his toolbox like crooked in his elbow.
Yeah.
So he's just sort of carrying everything as he's like scanning stuff and then seeing what it says on the pad and then like beeping something else, because as an engineer, you never know what's going to be useful on a planet. I mean, there was like this one time we accidentally grew this weed that turned out to be really good glue, and we didn't use the Starfleet regular stuff for like 3 years.
Like before you said it, like Gyro was about to reach out for a handshake, realize what you're doing, holds their hand away, like, yeah, nope, they're busy.
It's like, yeah, no, I got stuff to do.
So, Lan, walking through this strange planet, what are you doing? What are you thinking?
I mean, I don't know if this necessarily makes sense for like a medical person to do this, but it's one of those like, part of my instinct is we knew it was 30 degrees at the crash site.
Yep.
We're walking about however long it takes to get to the fire. So I'm seeing if there's what the angle difference is.
Yep.
To see if I can get an idea how far away this interference is.
Absolutely, you can do that. Triangulation over the course of that walk. So you sort of, I mean, you look at your tricorder and it's kind of, it's doing this, like it's somewhere over there, but pretty soon it's somewhere over there, and you can absolutely, brilliant idea.
Olan is entirely on my agenda.
Let me see how well you do this. Give me reason and science.
Is there any way to support? Because if not, I'm doing it myself too.
There absolutely is. So you roll the same roll, and if you succeed, we automatically add 1 success to his roll, as long as he succeeds at least once.
And would it work with a focus of discipline, or not discipline, vigilance?
Yes,
kind of
absolutely,
keeping a close eye on that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Considering we are doing literal navigation, what am I rolling?
Maybe you don't.
You would be rolling with focus as well. So
yeah, I think it's
reason and
1d20
science
with a focus.
Yeah,
from what
reason and science.
Reason and science with a focus.
Button.
You got 2 successes. Right, you got 1 success. So that is 3 too many discipline success selected. Oh, that's okay.
No, never mind. Hold on, that's probably broke there.
That's okay. You rolled a 2. There's nothing you can that's going to not make it on a 2. So
how about that?
Either way.
I fixed it and then I rolled. Look what it says.
I saw. Either way, with that, so that gives him 3 successes plus his 1 success is 4 successes. So that gives you guys a ton of momentum. There's only a 2 difficulty, so you get 2 more momentum. And with that, Solan, you not quickly, over the course of the day, you are tracking this vigilantly in your little book, and keeping track of the angles and the average angle. And you're also, because you're that person, you're figuring out the variation of the wobble so you can be even more accurate. And yeah, by the end of the day, you have come to by the time you're just about to get close enough to interact with the source of the fire, you have determined that it's probably no more than a quarter of a day's walk away. No more than about 3 or 4 hours walk from here. It was quite, it veered quite a bit when you walked by. So
okay,
yeah, not by. You're still same distance from both. I don't want to make the decision by proximity.
Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah, it's a relatively speaking, a short walk from wherever this smoke is to wherever that EMP source is.
Okay,
very cool. Good information.
Which also would definitely say that these people would know something of the source, particularly being that close.
In all likelihood, being that close and being here for a while, it makes sense that these people, absolutely, like Gyro was saying earlier, it makes sense that these people would know something. So,
what I might also give, because it kind of got just drifted aside. It was sounding like Gyro was trying to do introductions, and Pete kind of answered and had a long-winded answer, and that probably would have been all while Sky and Solan were like navigation, this, that, what here.
You guys were busy, so it's a little later now.
Just happened to be closest.
You can finish off now. Absolutely, yeah. You guys were all busy, so oh, by the way, we were doing introductions earlier. My name is
I expect it's a depending on how Gyro kind of felt through it. It's yeah, you were there with Pete. You got an introduction for Pete who went all verbose, and then the glue thing was going on. Meanwhile, you've got the two other staff doing work and not noticing people are being
Don't worry about what Gyro thinks. It's not your job to worry about what Gyro thinks. You just need to know what Sky thinks.
It's because she would have potentially noticed around afterwards, but not have caught the original question. What kind of expression does Gyro have in the whole Kate got something with someone, but everything kind of is off on different directions? So how exactly are you looking in case there's anything that prompts her to, oh, I should look into this?
Calm.
Calm, yeah. Yeah.
Very calm.
Yep.
Okay.
Like when Pete was like doing his long-winded thing, they were very patient and calm, just listening.
I could change the name to Long-Winded Pete now.
Long-winded Pete.
But anyone else who gives their introductions, Gyro will offer their hand for a handshake.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So Solan and Sky was interrupted, but yes, at any point, probably before we get to this town.
Is Solan going to give an intro, or
he did?
You did?
Yep. Medical Officer Solan. Good to meet the three of you.
Gyro will offer a handshake.
He takes it in.
Which
shakes
hand
your
are you offering?
Does it really matter?
And offers a handshake to
It does actually.
Sky as well.
When you get to Sky, yeah.
What hand did you offer Solan?
They're
right hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what happens, Sky?
Sky will follow along what's going on and then speak up. Oh, hello. I am Navigator Sky Tristine. It's a pleasure to work with you. And she will hold out her left hand.
So your right hand at this point, is it, tell us where that is.
My right hand is set against my thigh.
Yeah. Kind of, you realize now that, fair enough, there's been a lot going on and she's been very quiet. And it is just now that you notice that your teammate, Sky Tristine, only has the use of one arm.
Oh,
which is shocking in this level of medical ability at this time and place. Yeah.
Peter actually starts a little when Sky speaks. Like he's actually surprised that she knows how.
So I have a bit of a question here.
Yes.
Gyro, I mentioned before, was always looking at everybody, seeing how they move, how they function. Would they have noticed that already?
Let's find out. We can retcon this if need be. Give me a reason and science. I guess that's just the rolls of the night. That just seems like that's a good roll to be making when you're a science-based team. So yeah, reason and
She's
science.
otherwise really good at getting stuff done with one hand.
Or
it just looks like she only needs one.
Yeah, either or, whichever one you like. Two
That's
successes.
pretty good, though.
Absolutely, yeah. You would have realized this before. I apologize because now we have to retcon that. But yeah, you would have realized this beforehand. Would that, I guess, because we're retconning, would that have changed the hand you offered?
I never even said what hand Gyro would have offered.
No, you hadn't yet, actually. So yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So for everyone else, except for Pete, it has been the right hand.
Yeah.
But for Sky, they look at Sky and Sky's hand, then looks at Sky in the eye and raise their left hand for a shake.
Very cool. Thank you. Nice timing. Another reason I like playing with you. This is what fellow DMs do. Here, I'll help you. I'll help you get back on track. Thank you. So yes, there you go, Sky. Your boss noticed.
And the smile is back.
Wow. Sky, the left hand is being presented.
Yeah, and I said she held out her left hand too at the same. So I expect with that it's both people are going to shake. She's holding a very professional demeanor, and she probably would have also noticed the distinction because it sounded like for Pete there was she kind of noticed the tail end Hold
Yep.
out hand, realize, nah, I'm not going to do that. Goes to
Yep.
Sola and holds out right hand. But when it came to approaching Sky, hold out left hand.
Yep.
No questions asked, no problems. Nothing has arisen weird.
Nope.
And so that's a sign of respect.
Absolutely.
So, her face though will be very calm, very just like everything is ordinary. Her ears would have gone to a higher 30% angle though.
Yep. Perked right up. Okay, cool.
So
And
she's ecstatic.
And with the end of the introductions, you start to move forward some more towards this location. This location. We move you to this location.
We getting a
Okay.
scene change?
Apparently.
Oh my god, we're getting a scene change.
We're getting a scene change. Getting one right now. The scene has changed. Dun dun dun.
Oh, that's a weird filter for that picture.
Move the.
Those look like tents.
They look like
Sorry,
sponsor
I'm
hats.
after last session, I am diagnosing your pictures because it's like, is anything here ridiculous?
Well, it's not mine. I did not build any of this.
This is either in the
those
Middle
jokes you
East
found last
or
week are-
just a couple miles away from where I live.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this looks like the South Okanagan. This could have been outside of a Soyuz.
Just
You
outside
never
of
would have known.
Penticton somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
A big grow up somewhere. Anyway,
Or a
you
ginseng
guys get
farm.
to the edge of the forest, and there's a very rapid transition. It's forest, forest, forest. There's no thinning. It's just forest, forest, forest. Bang, desert. It makes no sense ecosystem wise. It makes no sense.
Is there
Dr.
a straight
Solan,
line
it makes
between
no
the
sense
forest, like-
biologically. There isn't a line in the sand, but there damn well might as well be. Like
It's like grass just stop.
the only blend is from the dirt of the plain itself to the mulch of the forest, because wind is sort of blowing a little bit of mulch out onto the plain here and
Okay.
there. But other than that, it is like you look
So
down
it's-
the tree line and it's
Okay, so the tree line's pretty obvious, but it's not like a line.
No.
It's
No,
not
it's-
like manufactured by people.
Yeah.
both of you give me a reason and science check.
I was going to ask if it somehow corresponded with the thing I've been tracking of like, you kind of will follow the line and it kind of leads that direction.
Oh, no, but you don't need to roll.
No. Okay.
So, no, it is not
What?
in the direction of the EMP source.
What fits with her is that they've been going through a series of area that's obvious cover, trees
Yep.
involve things to hide through. Here, it's suddenly a different concern. Desert. There's a distinction of what is defined as flat. It could just be, hey, look, I can see every speck of sand from here
Yeah.
for the next 4 days.
Is
Yeah,
it
you can see the
Saskatchewan
picture.
flat or
Yeah.
Mojave flat?
It's not Saskatchewan flat. It's like the picture. There's a plain in front of you, and then in the distance, a range of very dry, low hills.
So there
And
are
then
dunes here.
between
In this
you and
desert.
them, there is something that looks very much like a huge tent. What isn't on this picture is you can see the wreckage of a massive ship,
Been
a
there a while?
colonist ship. The weird part about the wreckage is it looks for all the world like it's just been swooshed. Like it's just, you know how many floors it should be? Like it should be long and this many floors high, I think like an ocean liner, but it's swooshed. All of it. You can see it landed under some pressure coming down. It's
Okay,
not
as
a
opposed to
controlled landing. Engineer, yeah,
Okay.
it was a crash.
So it seems like a buckling on the sides as opposed to just you can't see below
Yeah.
a certain point.
Absolutely. In fact,
Okay.
engineer, give me a reason in engineering. Finally, something other than reason in science. Because engineering is completely different than science.
Yeah.
It's just math.
and
Just ask
I'm
Sheldon.
going to roll with focus as
Yes,
a
you are.
damage reporting
Yes, you are.
procedure.
Oh, yes, you are.
Yeah.
4 successes. Holy shit. Okay, well, you're maxed out on your momentum now. Because this was only a 1 to see. So that's you guys got 6 momentum the next time you need to use it for anything. You can use it for rerolls too, and those don't have to be in combat. But you are you're looking at this ship and you're mathing as bad as you can. What actually you figure out, what gives you the hint is you remember years ago when you were just a kid, you were helping your uncle take an old septic tank out of the ground.
Mm.
And as the crane was spinning it around, the rope broke and it fell from a height and just went. And you've kind of blocked out what happened when it exploded, but the compressed container that was left looks a lot like this. You also notice there's no forward or backward slip. This thing went bang, straight down.
Yeah, it's like there was a complete loss of momentum. Like that's like the first thing he says. Like,
Yeah.
It just dropped like somebody pulled on it like a cord.
Yeah.
It's like starships aren't supposed to fall like that. The starships aren't supposed to fall. So, ugh.
For Gyro, the smile is gone again.
Sure. Yeah.
Her ears are probably down again.
Absolutely.
All the way down. But
I'm a logic person. I might have logic this. Okay, we're okay with this now.
Solan, speaking of logic, you can't help but do the math. There is
what I was thinking
near
is
enough room in those tents for all the people that should have been on that ship. Nowhere
You
near.
said there's not enough?
Nowhere near. Like
Nowhere near?
maybe enough for 20%.
Okay, well, my brain was logicking if they got themselves in just like a geostationary orbit around the planet
Mm-hmm.
and something caused them to drop out, it would have done the similar thing to what you're describing. So instead of it being a full loss of momentum, it was just something stopped them.
And just pulled
It looks, yeah.
pulled
Thank
them
you for
down.
pointing that out. This is a colony ship, so it was designed to land. It was designed to come in. And what it looks like between you and the engineer, you can figure this out. It looks like it was coming into land. It was hovering. It was just coming down. And then at a distance above the ground, everything shut off.
way higher than it was supposed
Gravity
to.
took over and bang.
Like, yeah.
You don't know the structural strength of this ship, but it doesn't look like it was that high. people survived, right?
Mm-hmm.
At
That's
least.
actually going to be a part of my next question. Because
yeah, mine is like, how much signs are there of people are alive?
Yep.
How dated is like any kind of civilized process here?
Absolutely. And
I mean,
Gyro,
how warm is
yeah.
the tent?
I
Mhm.
actually had two questions, but you kind of answered one of them.
Okay.
When something falls from that height, there's going to be scatter. There's going to be
Yes.
debris flying
Yep.
everywhere. I was going to look and see how far the radius was, because that
Trying to
tells you
figure
how
out-
high up they were.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you've already said that it wasn't that high.
Well,
It was just high enough
to
because
cause
of this, I'll
impact.
give you a number. It
also-
looks like it was about, you would get, it's not that far, but if you think of dropping a ship onto land, they don't have to drop that far. There's so much mass landing.
Tens of thousands of tons.
Exactly. And this looks like this came down from probably 50, 60 meters.
That'd be enough to kill somebody.
I can convert that very quickly, so don't worry
Basically
about
50 to
converting it.
60 yards. They're almost the same.
I can convert that. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah. Well, some of our viewers may not be able
About
to.
200
so
feet,
yeah.
give
Yeah.
or take.
Enough to get a slow motion scene in a Star
This-
Trek movie.
Yeah.
The second question is, just from where we're standing, are we able to see movement around that tent? Like, are we seeing people walk around?
That's-
Yeah. So both of you, I'm assuming, Sky, you were going to do the same
Yeah.
thing. You were looking for threat, right? So both
Yep.
of you give me reason and security.
Oh, nice.
You can't generate any more momentum, but
You can use one if you're scared.
you could if things aren't going well. But yeah, there's one success.
I'm checking for if focus means anything.
See if any of the things
Focus
you're...
means for every success you get.
Yeah, no.
two.
I'm
If
looking
any
at
of
the
them
list
apply,
to see if this
yeah.
applies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Propulsion systems.
Or lack
Oh,
thereof.
quantum mechanics or subspace physics.
Probably not in this instance.
Okay, I'll just
Give me
roll.
a straight roll. Yeah. Okay, so between
Yeah,
the two of
fucking
you,
credit anyways.
Yeah. so
Oh my gosh.
with that, the two of you are looking around. Solan, what are you doing?
So I mean, what he's doing is he's kind of getting kind of a feel for it. I mean, what he might be doing is trying to. I think, are they figuring out about how old the area is?
That was
No,
part
we're
of the
trying to
information
figure
that
out
they're
what
looking
kind of
for. Yeah.
people are here.
I mean, he's kind of seeing if the smoke's coming out of one of the houses or if it's coming
Yeah.
out of a separate area.
Okay, absolutely. Good point. Yes, I can answer that. You don't have to roll for that. There is a large communal campfire that isn't in this image. And there's also smokestacks in the tents that are built in. These are like, they seem like semi-permanent tents, almost like military hospital tents. It's where you get the
Active life.
like, that's the sort of connection that you make.
Okay, there's active life.
Sky
Yeah.
and Gyro, yes,
Burlap
there is.
prefab.
Gyro, you see movement in the tent flaps. Somebody's opening up tent flaps and looking out in your direction.
Oh,
Sky, a split second before a voice pierces the wind of the day, you see a flap of cloth, the same color as the dirt, about 100 meters away from you. And then from in that exact same direction, you hear a voice, not one step further. Clearly a human voice. All four of you hear it.
I turn
Towards
in the
you or
direction of
towards
it.
somewhere else?
so yeah, my
Start
idea
walking
is-
away.
Yeah, that's my idea too. It's we've walked out of the trees. Trees are cover. Trees are better. I'm taking cover.
So you're
we
heading
got
back towards the
we got
trees?
shot
Okay.
at just recently in
Yep.
these same circumstances.
Sky,
I'm hiding
you're-
behind trees.
You're heading back to the trees? Okay, that's fair
I
enough.
want my trees.
Pete, what are
Well,
you
I'm
doing?
waiting for an
Never-
answer.
I never got to say it, but Gyro didn't step out of the tree line.
Oh, you're still at the tree line. Okay. Okay. Pardon
So
me.
it's pretty much
So
just
I'm
Pete
standing
and
next to a
Solon.
tree.
Okay, so Pete, yeah. Sky,
Um,
you see the flap of cloth, and
Yeah.
you see that that's where the voice comes from. Pete, you just hear a voice from like somewhere over here. Solan, were you still in the trees, or did you follow Pete out?
He followed Pete out
Okay.
just to kind of get an idea. So when the person said not a step closer, he's trying to figure out if they're talking like within basically the circumference
Right.
that it's
Yeah.
gotten too close, or if they have an interest in coming out to meet us is kind of what he's trying to judge.
Yeah. So you respond with perfect Vulcan logic instead of fear. Not one step closer. What do you mean by closer?
Gyro is also going to be looking around for the source of that voice.
Absolutely. You can, because you were already looking in that for that, I'll give you the extra success that you would have needed to see it. And yeah, you can see also there's somebody in a homemade ghillie suit, essentially, like the camouflage sniper suit, laying behind a small pile of rocks, aiming a very large phaser rifle in your general direction, but not at any of you.
I'm going to...
The second, sorry, since it happened because of Pete,
Yeah.
just like doing scans and stuff, it's like
Yeah,
not one
and then
step
you hear
closer. It's
that.
like, I'm not moving, bud.
Okay, Gyro,
Because he's not,
Your-
he wasn't
your
walking
frat
anywhere. He was
crew has
standing there.
responded as a highly trained organization has trained them to do so. One of them is fleeing for the
Gyro.
trees. Yeah,
It's going to look to the person.
yeah.
I am First Officer Gyro of the Astral 2020. We were sent by the Federation to look for survivors of a crash. Are you from the colony ship that crashed here long ago?
Oh, thank the heavens. And he stands up and the dust falls off him. He's obviously been laying there all day. Like this is his job. He's guarding this camp. The Federation, I should have seen the uniforms. And in front of you
Gyro
is
raises an eyebrow at this.
a gaunt, skinny man with this rifle that is now slung over his shoulder. You've come to rescue us?
So does that mean we can
We're
get closer?
going to figure that one out.
Yes.
There's
come,
still the
come.
interference on this planet.
Yes, that is what caused us to crash. But yes, join us in the tents. We have, if nothing else to offer, we have more food than we could eat in 10 lifetimes.
Oh, that sounds cool.
He comes back out of the trees.
Gyro's
Oh,
going to turn to
food!
the Gyro's going to turn to the others. Calm down, everybody. It's okay.
Yeah.
Pete
Two more
exhales.
snipers stand up out of the sand on the other side of you.
Yeah. Pete's just like,
Yes.
just
Pete, you're
physically
like, "Oh, wow."
deflates.
3 of them were right there, like within easy sniping range.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
One of them's like right beside him.
Trained,
Like, holy
trained
crap,
sniper
bud.
soldiers are dangerous.
Oh, yes, they are. Yep. You're lucky you got a warning. And with that, you are led, if you are willing to go, towards the village.
Yep.
As you head there, he looks at you, Gyro. He recognizes the pips. You're a 3, by the way. Captains are 4, so just in case you wanted to keep
Heck
track.
yeah.
Yeah. I think Lieutenants are 3.
Lieutenant Commander.
Lieutenant Commander,
If
yeah.
it's
Riker.
For 3 pips,
Yeah.
I think.
You're a Riker. So
Shit.
yeah. So you he recognizes the ranking and speaks directly to you. I am Camp Leader Rav Capel. We have been here 3 generations. We were sent because it was the perfect environment. We landed. This happened. Everywhere we go, this happens. And he's pointing to the wasteland around him.
Well,
We finally came back to the ship because it's easier than carrying our supplies anywhere else.
well, our ship is still in orbit. It's not big enough to carry a lot of people, unfortunately. We want to find out what's going on this planet. Maybe we can make it stop. To at least contact the Federation.
Oh, we know where you need to go to do that. We've just never been able to figure out how to do it.
Gyro's gonna look at Salan, knowing how Salan works. Looks and then looks at Pete and then looks at the person.
Are you referring to the quarter of a day's walk that way?
Yes. Yes.
You mean that thing that's over there that we saw when we landed?
I'm sorry, he said that, and I started thinking of the cartoon Hercules. Mount Olympus is over there.
And you don't see it until they say it. Yeah. But yeah, he says, yes, it's exactly about a quarter of a day's walk away. It's a very strange valley. It's perfectly round, and it's almost demi-hemispherical. Is that the right word? It's the very, very bottom of a hemisphere. It's not a hemisphere. It's not a half a sphere, but it's the very bottom section of a sphere, hollowed out of the ground. And because you can tell, I say that because the engineer and the doctor would recognize the technical term. This person is while he's standing here covered in rags with a rifle over his shoulder, he's got a classical education. And you can't see it until you're quite close. And then of course, there's the energy shield. But don't worry, it'll let you right through. In and out.
Are you talking about a spherical cap?
Yeah, that's the other phrase. I only knew the Latin.
It almost sounds like a perfect caldera, but everyone's gonna have like their own little version.
We checked that, but there's it's the wrong kind of rock. It's sedimentary. It's not igneous.
Interesting.
And he's like, oh, the one elective I took. Useless.
So, you said the energy field appeared to do nothing.
You can walk right through it and you can come back out, but nothing inside can come out. Oh, including the stuff. We tried to farm it for food. As long as we don't move the camp, it's okay. But we can go in, we can grab stuff, but we can't bring it out. We can go in there and eat it. But like you said, it's like 3-hour walk. And we've got this as you get to the first tent. And he opens the door on one of these long tent things. And it is stacked full of vacuum sealed rations.
I don't mean to be rude, but if you can eat food and leave, could you not potentially transport items out?
Transporters don't work. Nothing works.
No.
I mean, if you were to leave
I was thinking the same thing. Because
with the item,
in your mouth,
such as food
or
inside of you.
Further.
Oh yeah, we can
disappear from your stomach.
It doesn't actually. I
You
wonder if
walk
you could
through,
bring
there's
other
this
stuff up
bolus
like
of
that.
food just hanging in the air.
Yeah. He says, actually, no, that's interesting because it does stay in you. I wonder if we could bring other stuff out like that. No, probably
Gyro
not.
is just slowly pinching the bridge of their nose.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. It's been a long time since I met people. You were sent here to rescue us?
Not specifically.
Originally, we were sent to rescue another. Was it called a skiff?
We were after
It was another
scouts
runabout.
that were out this way and disappeared.
Yeah, runabout. There you go.
Yes. Oh, we've seen a couple of ships crash in the last week. Was that them?
It wasn't a crash. It was
Transporter.
appeared to have been a mistransmat.
Oh,
Gyro
well, that's
grimaces with
interesting
us.
because there's been at least 2 landings under duress. 2 crashes, absolutely, that we've seen in the last week. One
Have
over
they been
there.
probably
increasing
would've-
in frequency?
Well, there's only been the 2, but one over there about a week ago, and they point off in sort of another direction that you haven't been. And one, now that you mention it, kind of closer to the thing, the gate.
Gyro starts to look concerned. One of those ships was Romulan. And then she's going to turn to Solon and the others. They mentioned Ferengi was detected out here. I think the other ship is Ferengi.
If you don't
And yes,
mind
pardon
my
me, I have to
question.
correct myself. The first ship they point at was the Romulan ship that you guys were at. My mistake.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they point. There's only 2 ships: the Romulan one that you guys know about, and something else that crashed within the last week as well. 3 days later. Solan, to answer your question, yes. Sky, any questions for this guy?
She's so far been really good at being quiet. I'll give you that one.
Pete, who has been very good at being not quiet. Any questions?
Honestly, Pete's been taking a lot of this in. He was more than relieved to hear that this was not a colony or colonization gone horribly wrong, just the normal kind of wrong.
Yeah.
Having been a colonist before, he understands that kind of fear.
Yes. One of
Same
your
with
previous
Gyro.
lives. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's he's listening. He's very concerned about what this person I can't remember his name.
Tor.
What Tor had to say, but he's also curious to see how they managed to survive. If there's anything that, because this was at least, they said 3 generations. That's
So 60 years ish.
60 to 70 years. That's a long time. A lot of races, including the Trill, have joined the Federation since then.
Yes.
And he's thinking, well, it might be a while. Trill aren't normally concerned with time, but he's a long way from Trill, so he's a little concerned about surviving.
Yeah. The one thing you see. Go ahead.
Yeah. So he's looking more mechanical capacity, what he's able to impart as an engineer.
Perfect.
His background as a farm boy.
Essentially, and as you guys get to this building as well, other people start coming out of some of these other tents and out of this tent as well, and you start to see the locals. There's 40 or 50 of them, maybe.
Oh, thinking about, I actually now figured out a reaction.
Okay.
Because obviously these are people that are quite dated and have had no access to anything through quite a while.
Yeah.
Even with just limited to one hand, she's going to do what she can to try and tuck away her ears and avoid any questions, because there's so much potential for
as you sort of reach up to start to do that, you look around. This group is a typical Federation group. So there are Vulcans here. There are Trill here. You can tell from the tattoo. There are other races here as well.
You're going to find at least 5 or
nobody
6.
is judging. 1 or 2 might be going, oh, I've never seen one of you before. But that's as far as, nobody is responding in a negative or scared way to this new person.
Curiosity more than prejudice.
Yes,
Not even,
there is that.
Hardly even that. So,
yeah.
She's going to. She's fairly cautious, anyways. It's
sure, yeah.
What I want to avoid too many awkward questions.
Absolutely, no one. Well, in that case, you were the first one that really notices none of these people will start a conversation with you. If you speak to any of them, they will talk to you, but none of them will start the conversation except for Tor. He is clearly a major player in this area.
Is he Starfleet?
Sorry?
Is he Starfleet as opposed to just a Federation member?
He is. These are civilians. There is no military members on this trip at all.
Do consider the 3 generations down from a crash. They can't have been nominated.
Still, I mean, Vulcans.
They're not even from. They're from a civilian source. So
yeah, it's just generally there would be a little bit. Peter would have assumed there'd be at least a token Starfleet presence. assuming none of them, or assuming some of them survived. So that's what he's looking for, seeing if someone's wearing a Starfleet uniform.
Absolutely.
Might
You look
look
around and
like-
don't see any, and you can ask Tor, and he fills you in. None of they were all on the lower decks. You look over at the ship, and
He just does this and he does this to sort of thinks
with his stash,
and, like,
yeah.
and thinks with his stash, and he's just like, oh, that's too bad, eh? I'm sorry to hear that.
So the rest of the people here, like I said, he's really gaunt and skinny. There's nobody starving here. Like I said, they've got they've got another 500 years of food for the survivors that are left here.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got plenty of food, plenty of water. They're stuck out here in the desert. Everywhere they move, the desert follows them.
Oh, that's what the fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't quite catch that at first.
So
No,
they can
the
go
desert-
away and come back, but if they move the village, wherever they move their village, the desert
There's a
springs
desert.
from there around them.
Oh, what the shit? Okay, that's got his gears going.
And then,
That's
they,
like, okay,
and
there's
then
gotta
because
be-
of that, he's like he said that because of that, we came back here. That way we don't have to carry the food.
He's got it. That's got his gears going now. He's thinking.
Yep.
He's like plotting
That's
stuff.
that's where I've been.
Yeah,
I
that's
kind
a
of
big weirdness, right?
as someone who ponders terrain and navigation and layout of
Yeah.
stuff, it's like, hey, look, the map remakes itself because you're walking. Oh,
But also
that-
explains
that's
that very
shit.
sharp boundary.
Yeah. Because my original thought was shitty terraforming.
Yeah, that's not. No, it turns out this
Square
group is
block.
being isolated by something or someone. No matter where they go, they are not allowed into the forest. You guys have already traversed one forest, and nothing tried to stop you. Well, part of one forest.
Mhm.
It's still fairly early in the day
How
because
well is
we
the
still got time
equipment
left in
working?
tonight's session. So, sorry.
how well is the equipment here appearing to be working?
Oh yes, we were asking about that. All three of you actually, in fact, all four of you, I'm assuming, would be looking into that. This place is primitive. The only reason that they have lived in this desert environment is because of this ludicrous supply of food and water that they have, plus survival gear that you send with colonists. So they had these huge tents. They have thermal tents. They have ways to make heat. They have ways to generate air conditioning. All of these things, but they are all either chemical or mechanical in nature. Absolutely nothing of electronic power of theirs works at all.
Do they have
their
mechanical
tech
engines?
is 70 years older than yours, right?
Do they have mechanical engines? Like
They have a couple of small generators that work, but everything above that is computer controlled.
Okay.
Jera was going to ask
Mhm.
if anything on the ship still worked. Like, if we wanted to access data logs to figure something out, could we actually do that on the ship?
We could do that for a few months after the crash, but the longer stuff gets here, the worse it gets.
I see.
Guys
Look
going to
at
approach
this, and he
stolen,
pulls open
by
in
the way.
front of you. He pulls open a primitive tricorder. You were all looking at it like they showed you these in school, and you laughed about how big they were. Cell phones with long antenna. Yeah, it's the equivalent of your parents'
It's
cell phone.
The one with the hand scanner and the little backpack beside it. I
yeah,
remember.
the
I
battery
remember
was
them
this
from
big.
the original series.
But they take that out and they open it up for you. They've obviously done this before. The electronics inside, you can see they're physically deformed by the heat of them overheating.
And
Your stuff is better, but Pete, looking in there, you can see it took time to do that. Your stuff is shielded. Nothing's perfectly shielded. Your gear is going to get worse over time.
and I'm just like, how do the phasers still work? Just sort of an offhand comment as he's like peeking through.
You look down at your phaser as you say so, and the control panel is flickering.
No, they're phasers.
Because they had weapons for snipers and all that.
He looks at you and takes it off and leans it against the wall. Hasn't worked in 50 years.
He just looks at us like,
It's a bluff. Oh my god.
you're shitting me.
He totally fucked you guys out. His phasers don't work. He turns to show you the power bar, and it's absolutely like a black LED screen, right? That LED screen with zero information on it.
So Pete's first, like, so it's something electromagnetic, clearly.
It's in that spectrum.
Sky is still going to go to Solon.
Yep.
Whispering very quietly, do you think there's any chance there's some kind of biological tracing going on? You're the one with the expert in that. If they're being marked biologically by some kind of thing that's marking where the heck they're going to make sand follow them, that sounds like a potential bioweapon.
The most efficient way to do it would be as they pass through, if we're assuming that this interference is the reason their ship went down.
Mm-hmm. That's what they feel. Yes. It's cyclical. We discovered too late. We were almost landed, and it went past what our ship could handle. The thresholds were all broken at once, plummeted like a rock, just as the gravity control system quit.
If Solon is also whispering, I don't think anyone else is responding.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
in case you don't get that information. There you go.
Pete's having technical conversations with various engineer types.
It turns out that this guy Tor, he is the dude. Like he knows his stuff. Now let me make it clear. Like, this isn't a cult. I've said the other people, won't start conversations with you. It's not like that. It's just they're insular because they haven't seen an outsider in most of their lives. Most of them were born here.
Yeah.
So
there's probably isn't a purebred anything on that planet at this point. So
left, no.
Seeing a full-bred Vulcan, a frickin' gyro, whatever the hell Sky is, and a Trill, which aren't even member species of the Federation. They just sort of join up every once in a while.
Yeah.
Gyro's having realization and not liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh fuck.
And they don't know if they want to say it to Peter.
Yeah, because the two of you are up to one side.
But at the same time, they need to say it because they're the engineer.
Well, while you decide how you're going to deal with that particular dilemma, let's go back to Sky and Solon.
Because she's definitely keeping it a whisper because a bioweapon makes it sound like an infection.
Solon?
If they're
scare the shit out of people.
Yeah, no, there's no reason to scare people. Yeah. If they're sick with something big, that's more than a little unnerving.
Solon, your tricorder works at close distances. Your medical one, you could, if with their, you'd have to be right up close. Normally, you'd be able to be across the room and sort of surreptitiously scan them, but you're going to have to get right up on one of them. But it would be easy to do.
You don't mind me asking?
Yes.
Do you have anywhere where you would be, handling people who, fell ill, happen to be medically trained, and if you don't mind me taking a look at a few, I might be able to help you out a little bit.
Absolutely, I can take you to the doctor. Luckily, one of the medics survived, and they've passed on what they knew. What is it you're looking for?
Don't know how long we're going to be here, but helping out wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. And
sure. They take you, Sky, do you go with?
Yeah, I might as
you head off to the medical bay? Absolutely. It's in the back of one of these tents. As you've gotten into the village, there's actually 2 or 3 tents, but there was some hills and whatnot in the way. But yeah, there's the medical tent. It's quite small. It's only a small section at the back of one of the tents. So as you guys head there, let's pop back to the other two, now that they've had a bit of a moment to think. Gyro and Pete. What gyro have you decided, if anything?
Gyro's hands are kind of folded in front of their face, like they're really thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Our technology is warping like heated metal and heated and cooled metal over and over and over again. And they think back about those 2 warped guys. And they're looking at Peter wide-eyed like, oh no, how are we going to get off this planet? Oh no. This is bad. This is very bad.
You said you looked at them like that. Did you say the words?
Gyro actually said, like, how are we going to get off this planet?
Okay. Pete?
Like, especially after seeing the warp technology
Yep.
when they showed the insides.
Pete, you haven't
I
checked for a while.
I wanted to ask something. I don't know how to word it because I like surprises. No, I can't figure it out. I can't
Pete
figure out how to
collects
ask it.
himself, or he appears to. He just sort of goes down and back up.
Yeah.
And his response is, there's no accent for one. And it's simply, we either find the source of this interference and stop it, or we all die here. And then collects himself, and he's back.
And
sorry about that.
To confirm that, in that moment, you look down at your tricorder, and yeah, the levels, it's still cyclical, but it has not crossed that threshold where it's safe to transport.
Yeah, that's something that was one of the things that Pete was looking at the entire time he was scanning. Was
this is, as you stepped into this village, was the first time it ramped, which is weird because it doesn't appear to be connected to the source. That appears to be connected here.
He mentions that. It's like, I've been taking a look this entire time, trying to see what keeping us stuck here. And from what near as I can figure, it's gotten worse the closer we get to this ship. I'm starting to wonder if there's something they're not telling us, eh?
Some of us are already on that.
While the two of you ponder that, we'll flip back to the medical bay. Solan, you step in there. The first thing you notice is, good thing it's only first aid that they know, because that's all that it looks like they need. There's some broken arms and some, broken toes and standard sort of living on a rough planet sort of injuries. There doesn't appear to be any way to take care of seriously ill people. There's no disease maintenance or anything like that here. They just don't have the equipment. What was it you're trying to find out?
He's, in all honesty, he's looking for somebody who needs an autopsy. That's what he's looking for.
Okay, absolutely.
Looking for a corpse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't find anyone? Time to make one.
You have to ask the medic on site, but yeah, yes, we lost one just a couple of days ago. They haven't buried them yet. We tend to wait until the moon is full so we can see.
Would you mind if I were to, do you already have cause of death, or would you mind if I
They were just
take a second look?
They were almost 45.
It makes sense. Actually.
45.
That's just thought of that. Depends on the race.
This one's human, so yeah.
Okay.
So what you draw from that is that life is hard here, even with all the food. Life is hard.
Yeah. 45 in a.
They still have to do everything manually.
Yep, makes sense.
So someone's gonna, even though I died at 45, he still really wants to kind of see, if he can determine a secondary cause, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. You can do a give us a, let's doctor all over the place. Reason and science. Yeah,
reason
and medicine. Yeah, let's do that instead. Reason and medicine.
Please break us away from reason and science.
That's me. That's entirely me. That's everything about reason, because I
can
smart.
Literally task coordinate others. Course. No, that's doctor's orders. So you said
definitely
reason,
focus. Absolutely focus. This is your doctoring, for God's sakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Reason medicine with focus.
What it says on the list. You're a doctor. You get focus on an autopsy. 2 successes. Absolutely.
And I just want to know, if I were to burn momentum, could I, or at least 1 point, could I add another die to that, or how did that work for adding
Absolutely,
dice?
That's exactly how it works. You technically should have told me before you rolled, but you didn't know that, so yes. I'll burn a momentum, go ahead and roll 1 die and add to it.
additional dice. Does that work?
Yep.
Yeah.
Should work.
So
There
he's
we go.
got 6 total.
Yes, because they are yours with focus. So 6 successes.
That counted with focus, I believe.
Yeah.
The first one, no, you rolled an 11 and an 8 against 16, so that should have been 4 successes.
Oh, so that should have been 4.
And the
that
second
should have
one
been-
was a 13 against a 16. That should have been 2. So
That's
it
weird.
said it did with focus. Sometimes it's weird. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't.
That math did not
It's
work.
strange. I may have
Yeah,
to.
is that
I may
6
have
total?
to report that 6 total successes. Yeah.
So the momentum's back, I'm guessing.
Yes, you get your
Yeah.
momentum back. That is absolutely true because this game does not have the thing where you can't gain momentum after you've burned it. That's the other one. That's scum and villainy.
Mhm.
But yes, you maxed it out. Wow, 6 successes. In my head, the difficulty was 4, and you got 6. So there's nothing. If you find the physical cause of death, it was a very large buildup of cholesterol. Whoever this was, given the infinite variety of food, they were eating poorly. And they basically appear to have eaten themselves into a state where they died of probably a heart attack brought on by cholesterol.
They probably gave up on life and just like,
But
yeah, I'm
that's
just gonna
the-
eat my way out.
But yeah, that's just the first couple of
Mm.
successes.
Yeah.
You start to run. I mean, this is a field hospital, so you're looking around and it's like, wow, there's beakers and chemicals and reagents and shit here. I remember I read this in a book, and you
I think
6
that's a Bunsen
successes.
burner.
You old school this. You are taking samples and using mass spectrometry instead of you just counting on your tricorder. And what you discover is that the genetic structure of this person has been tagged. There's a tiny radioactive tag attached to it that there's no natural way should be there. You have no idea how they did it, but every single cell in this person's body has a made by sticker on it, basically. You just can't read it. Not made by, adjusted
of.
by.
Oh.
This is how they're tracking them.
I mean, what he was going to do is he was going to check for basically, I'm sure at some point they've had to do an amputation, even like check
Oh, yeah.
against
Yeah.
another cell.
Yeah.
Or basically another donor for the experiment,
Oh, okay.
which I'm guessing was around, or at the very least you could find somebody who's dropped blood somewhere to work with.
Yep.
He probably doesn't
Uh,
need much to.
You can check.
Just
I mean,
check
yeah,
what he
it's you can go. I mean, now that you know all that you need is a skin sample, you can go and do like cheek swabs of all the people out in the front, whatever you like.
He's just going to find somebody who's coughing just to do that with.
Yeah, take a bit of take somebody's coffee cup or whatever. Yeah, you get another sample and you run it
Size?
through. Yeah.
He's trying to make sure it's ways that it would seem normal for him to be looking
Yep.
for it.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna.
But
You're
he's
not
not
gonna get
gonna
caught
tell
doing
people-
this.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
All of
Every
them.
single sample you test. It's a small sample size, but logically, everybody
that
in this
extends
village
well
has
for a
been
small
tagged.
sample size.
Yeah, when there's only 40 and you've tested 4 and they've all got it, that's beginning to be predictively valuable. So, while he's doing that, Scott, yes, you
What
have
is
some
Sky
time
doing in the
hospital.
meantime?
Yeah,
Well, a lot of it is this isn't exactly her field, but it is her idea.
yeah.
She's going to try and gauge an impression from Solon about what's going on.
Yeah.
From
Do you
what
share?
I've learned already, there
Well,
is
do you
no
share,
way to
Solon?
tell Solon has figured out anything.
Yeah.
So she's just feeling in the dark, and that's making her anxious.
Okay. Do you say anything, Solon? You look around, there's none of the locals are here at the moment.
So good news. It appears to be definitely local, but they appear to be tagged.
Oh.
Specifically, their genetic material.
Contagious?
I mean, considering
The way, from what you can learn of it, no. This is like somebody has
the
done
only way it
something
would
to
appear to be contagious is if you were to, it would not be you, but if you were to have a child with one of these people, it would be, logical.
Solon,
Hello.
Speaking of logical, you haven't tested anybody in the party.
I'm sure he would have checked himself in that whole
Illuminati
process.
theme class. That's why I asked, because I wanted to see if you were, because you have a control group and a test group, right? So you want to use yourself as the control group. You take a blood sample and run it through the process. Vulcans have blue blood, by the way.
I thought they were green.
Is it green?
Romulans are
No, he
green.
always calls him a blue-blooded bastard. Bones is always
No,
calling Spock
No,
a blue-blooded
green-blooded
bastard.
hobgoblin.
Yeah, Romulans have green blood as well.
Okay, there you go. It's green.
Uh,
All right. Anyway, you're doing a test on that sample of your own blood.
Infuriated McCoy to call Spock a green-blooded hobgoblin. That was his nickname for him.
I knew you were looking it up because you lit up.
He's got the face here. That you used to only get that lighting when you went to the fridge in the middle of the night. You opened it up and it was like guilt light. But Solan, you test your own blood. There's no marker, but the space has been made. So if the marker was like it's not this simple, but if the marker was like took out a single T and replaced it with a little glowy bulb, your T is missing, but there's no little glowy bulb yet.
Uh-oh.
Concerning.
I've consumed Romulan ale that's been on this planet for some time.
Yep, you're a long ways away.
Yeah, I know. I'm just realizing that.
Oh, player
This is
note,
total-
absolutely, yeah.
Total fucking meta, but yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so I guess basically at the end of that test, the only word you've heard from him so far is concerning.
Yes, that is pure Vulcan concern.
Vulcan panic.
Yeah, yeah. Sky. A complete lack of information except a very disturbing word from a Vulcan. How do you respond to that?
Well, she's really good at having a very serious and like flat face.
Yep.
It's not like her ears would be at any degree higher than low, but
Like a cat, right? They don't even know they've got a tail, so you can tell how they're feeling even if they're trying to hide it. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted. What would you like to do?
yeah, on matters of survival and halfway down Pete's Avenue of stuff, it's like, so one needs a few things to live, including food. So, what's the chance that's infected? And what's the chance it's contagious on ingestion?
Good point. Easily tested.
I
You also
mean,
check the rations too.
Now, some of that though isn't entirely like medical. There's potentially some benefit on that.
I mean, from what I've seen, it appears to modify the genetic material. So if they had any kind of meat or produce,
I wasn't
even if it were
speaking in character,
canned.
but that was my ideas.
Yeah. Easy to check. Like I said, you just have to check the rations. There's no livestock here. There's nothing alive.
We'll say she didn't.
I mean, if it was
speak,
dried meat.
Yeah,
we'll say
they've got replicators, so they can make anything. Oh no, because they don't work. Oh yeah, they're basically all they've got an infinite supply of is these rations.
she wouldn't have spoken,
Oh, okay.
but she's going to have been like looking through the food and back to you, and you could probably logically draw the conclusions.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah.
Solan, easy check. I mean, this now that you know what it is, you can input it into your tricorder. Now you can just boom, stuff and see if it's there.
I mean, if you'd like, I can, show you how to do it too.
You reach down and boom, the first box, nothing.
Okay. So it seems to.
You sort of check around a
living
couple of
tissue.
things. It's only the living beings that are here. They're tagged.
So actually, you said that they farmed. Is it on here or is it somewhere else?
They tried to farm, is what he would have told you.
Yeah,
Every time they plant
tried to
stuff,
farm
everything
here.
dies. So
they have their little force field area. They can eat and grow stuff.
yeah, they could go.
there,
They were
mentioned.
going into the forest and eating, and then coming back out.
Yeah.
This sealed forest, well, not sealed, but this force fielded forest.
Inconvenient that this one died of a heart attack.
While you guys are figuring all of that out, back over in the other side of the camp, Pete and Gyro. What are you
Oh
doing?
boy. Okay.
Yep. Pete's more or less oblivious about Gyro's nature. Just assumes he's some other kind of, or that they are some other kind of alien. And so when he says, all of their electronics are slowly decaying, it's happening to our equipment as well, but at a much slower rate. He just says it just as if it was, an unfortunate fact that we're going to have to deal with. Good for you. I'm a farm boy.
Yeah. Gyro, if it hadn't sunk in yet, this might be an intensely personal experience for Gyro.
That's what I was struggling to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's that. I think we can leave it like that and still be cryptic.
Yeah. Gyro is trying to keep their composure as best as possible, because this is actually something they've never really had to work with before.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived on a planet much weirder than this.
Yep.
Whatever Salan and Sky are doing right now, they might have gotten some information. All we can figure out is the mechanical side.
Mm-hmm.
I say once we rest our feet, or we rest up here, we head to the interference, see if we can get it to stop. The last thing I want is one of us falling down a cliff because of malfunction.
Pete's like, no, you know that I can't sleep. So I'll probably be heading over to the ship, see if I can't figure something out. You know where I'll be.
Would you like somebody to go with you?
He sort of peeks his head out of the tent and sort of looks at the colony ship. Hoping, something doesn't fall when he looks.
Yeah.
At the very least, let's find out what the others have learned before we adventure in there. We need to have all of our facts straight. And the entire time, like every now and then, whenever Gyro stops talking, they'll look at their hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll go back to talking, and then go right back to looking at their hand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pete's like, well,
more than likely, if you walk into where we're,
I was just going to say that the two of you, Solan and Sky, if you're done with your
kind of stepped out now that we were done,
especially and then headed back. So
after making sure I told the person that it was
being what it is, you step in just at the end, just in time to not hear that part of the conversation.
Yeah, just in time for you. Like, well, either way, I've got all night, so I guess I could, find a nice generator to curl up against and have a nap. But in the morning, I want to take a look at that colony ship. Curl up against the generator.
like a cat with a laptop.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when I say generator, it's like solar powered and wind powered. It's got both options, right? It's not pouring gas and stuff.
It hums. There's a vibration. It's close enough.
Yeah. It generates an electromagnetic field. That's what you really need to sleep.
You can tell the difference. It's like it's home.
It's hope.
Gyro's going to turn when the other two show up.
Yeah.
All right. Did you learn anything?
Guy's going to approach so that it's a comfortable distance to whisper from and be all like, it's a bioweapon.
Pete's like, it's a what?
You know that meme people use where the guy's eyebrows raised and he blinks like, I'm sorry? That's what Gyro just repeats, like, a bioweapon.
Yeah. That is drowned out by Pete's. It's a what?
Solan, would you care to jump in at this point before things escalate?
Not so much a bio. No. That we can tell, it appears to significantly impact at least this population. And by what I've seen, it will impact us eventually, and we're just in the early stages. So it would appear that these people, at the very least, at some point were marked Well, at the genetic level, that is. And somehow, that is being used against them.
Well, you now know how they're tracking the colony. A certain number of them are together. It generates the trigger, which causes the desert to
The downside is
And
that the
yes,
whole
you
Yeah.
do, Pete. Yes, you do.
Pete, you keep in mind that might not have caught up to some people's consideration. You could get yourself tested if you want.
Oh no, that's just something I just sort of thought of. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm more than just Peter Sakes.
Yes, you are. You are also a trill.
Yeah.
You can worry about that if you
nobody
wish.
scanned you yet, so we'll
Yeah,
figure that
nobody-
out when
no-
somebody
nobody
comes
really-
around to that. Yeah,
I mean, people don't even know the difference until Deep Space Nine. So
yeah, exactly.
like, as
Yeah,
far as
you're
everyone's,
damn near as new as the one we've actually added to canon for this game. So
yeah.
Gyro is giving Solan their complete, total attention, listening.
So I'm unsure where they picked it up from because, well, at the very least, my genetic code does not appear to have the marker, but it has the space for one. My initial hypothesis is that it might be the field that they walked in and out of that had, quote, to quote the one who said it, no effect.
Interesting.
However, without knowing how early they crossed the field, and if anybody did not cross the field, I can't say for certain.
What's standing out is that the details of how this lays out feels outright malicious. And
Although,
that's
Sky,
Yeah.
one of your birds would be helpful about now. Or your, what were we calling it? Quaints?
Quaint.
Quaints.
Quaint.
Yeah.
It's either quaint or ale.
if
Can't
you
call it
guys
ale. People will think we're playing D&D.
I know.
Yeah, can't call it ale.
if you're up to doing animal testing, I'm not actually that proficient with that. Although I guess I did study some bird stuff at one point, but I guess if you want to test to see with some birds, we could see how they suffer thrown through your idea.
I mean, at
But-
the very least, plants are alive too. We could just use a plant.
Pete, just like as just a quick second, any chance you think those hosers from the shuttle did it?
Mm,
Solan.
Because immediately he thinks, well, our first threat is the Romulans that took a pot shot at us.
Yep.
He's got a personal stake in that. And so yeah, he's like, any chance do you think the Romulans did it?
This is a perfect opportunity for me to say, Solan, it has occurred to you, this is beyond any tech you've even heard of. This is you can understand how it would be scientifically possible, but you haven't the foggiest idea of what somebody would have to study for 500 years to be able to do it. This is
In addition-
extraordinarily advanced science.
If it was them, you, Pete, and I would have been marked at the very least. Because we were hit by their rather painful devices.
Yeah, that's true.
Gyro looks at the gun that Pete stole from them. Looks up at Solan. Yeah, that's true.
However, that's not to say there's not a separate device for marking, but on this scale, it would be difficult to be discrete.
Some of what might help is considering motivations. Why is this useful? If this is an antagonistic action, then there is motivation for it. And motivation would kind of spell out what is going on.
Who is doing this?
Yeah.
The big question.
Mhm.
And an
It's
assumption that
asked.
something's behind it.
And with that, we're going to give our players a week to destroy everything else that's happening in their world, to distract them during every conversation they're having with a loved one, and to keep them awake at night for at least 2 of the following 6 nights.
Ellie will have fun with that one.
That is where we are going to drop the curtain on tonight's episode.
Doing it.
We slightly broke the rules.
Kevin?
Yeah, who has anything they want to add?
Yeah, there is still the whole, you did plan to have it like passage of days. So
yes.
you'll have to figure out how to close a day with that.
Oh, I'm closing it right now.
Okay.
The sun is setting as we speak.
Okay.
And the
Just in
four
case
of you are
forgot.
sitting in this corner of the tent that has been assigned to you and talking back and forth and making plans and worrying and being stressed, I think is fair to say.
I think I figured out my question.
Yes. What is your question?
How am I feeling during all of this with this planet?
So far,
'Cause-
you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get across earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, you said you keep looking down. Yeah, so far you're fine.
All right.
And with that, this conversation's still going on. And will continue to go on into the night. And we will let you guys give a week to think about it. And then we can have the conversation of what happens in the morning a week from now. Thank you all so much. How different was that from the first episode? I said you'd be able to see where they stopped writing and I started. So you find yourselves in this pile of dilemmas, a dilemma on top of a dilemma on top of a dilemma, like all the best Star Trek episodes ever. I am so happy. But as happy as I am, this is the part of the night I wait for. This is the part of the night I long for, because I get to thank you guys for putting out all this effort and keeping up with all this mayhem that I have planned. So one at a time, Nick, thank you so much for bringing this Vulcan to our table. I keep detecting the hint of an accent trying to come out. I love it.
I'm trying to figure out when he's talking.
I'm just going to do it in the same order I did at the start. Bison, thank you so much for bringing a hoser on a Starship Enterprise episode. Some really smart hoser from Saskatchewan made it to Starfleet, eh?
Yeah.
And his dad never even got out of high school. Thank you so much.
Pizza Hoot.
And Hellhounds 20.
Hey,
I find. Sorry, oh, was it you first? Did I do it last time? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you left
I
the
said I was going to do it the
favorite
same
for
order.
last.
You're absolutely right. Throw that in my face already. One word. You use one word, one time. You try and push it off the table 27 times, but no, 2 hours later, somebody brings it up. But you're absolutely right, Sky. It should be you, Sky. Lonnie, should be you next. Thank you so much for bringing this scared person who puts their personal preservation above the rules and regulations at every given opportunity. I love it. It's a magnificent character. Thank you so much.
It works very well. We may have caught on, but the distinction between her dialogue and is because I will go over and explain the situation, and then we'll hear her talk very carefully, and
Yep.
that's
It's
where
a subtle
you see
difference,
the
but I'm starting
distinction.
to catch it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm starting to catch it. And that brings us Hellhounds
favorite.
20 on all of the many social medias. I personally have a really hard time playing figures in command. I don't know if you do as well, but I really appreciate you taking on this first officer role. And I have to say, you've absolutely nailed it. So thank you very much for bringing that to the table tonight.
I can chalk that up to a military family as well.
Fair enough. I don't care where you draw your explanation. You frickin' nailed it. Thank you so much. And with that, 2 thank yous left to everybody over in chat. I saw some regular faces over there tonight. There was a lot of conversation going on. As always happened, we got into it. I started talking to these guys and forgot about you guys, but I saw you over there chatting. So thank you so very, very much for hanging around and watching with us. And all the people in YouTube in the future, thank you as well. And with that, only one thing. Oh, look at that. Somebody discovered the smoke paint. Look at that. Oh, isn't that lovely? Isn't that impressive? I like that a lot. Yeah, and you can put fire in the fire. Yeah, oh yeah. You can have a
Isn't
good
that
time
a great distraction while I throw that into chat?
with
I'm great. Look at that. You see a
It was
distraction, I drop it into chat.
It was wonderful. Well, thank you so much, very much. And there it
Yes,
is. So
chat.
now we can all say it together. The only thing left to say, thank you all very much for joining us. And until next time, please
Be nice to each other.
be nice to each
Be
other.
nice to each other.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Get vaccinated.